In 2020, about 41,000 Canadians fell victim to fraud and Canada Revenue Agency or CRA scams with over $107 million in fraud collectively. That's an increase of 11 million more than the amount lost to fraud in 2019. If you're not one of the thousands of fraud victims, it doesn't mean you never will be. It's important to take a preemptive approach and learn about these scams before you learn from first-hand experience. I've created this video to help you learn more about the 8 most common CRA scams and how you can avoid them. Hey, what's going on? It's Chris here from Wealth Awesome. So let's start with what are CRA scams? CRA scams are simply scams perpetrated using the name of the Canada Revenue Agency, or the CRA. As the country's main revenue agency and taxation body, the CRA's name carries a lot of weight and legitimacy. Because of this, scams that use the CRA's name usually yield good results for fraudsters. People often don't usually investigate too much when they believe that they're receiving money and that the CRA is simply calling to confirm their credentials or identifiable information. Despite the CRA continually informing Canadians about telltale signs of communications that legitimately come from the department, scammers will manage to find ways to fool people. Still, with proper care and a little healthy suspicion for every bit of communication that asks for your identifiable information or financial details, you could avoid falling victim to some of the most common CRA scams. Stick around until after the list is finished and I'll give my personal thoughts about these scams and what are some steps that I take to monitor if I've been scammed or not. And if you get lost or want to learn more, you can check out the written article about this video on my website, wealthawesome.com. I've included a link in the description. Here we go with number 1. So the first common CRA scam is the CRA phone scam. Phone calls, especially from spoofed or barred numbers, are among the most favorite communication channels of scammers. There's nothing like the sense of urgency and authenticity that a legitimate sounding phone call conveys. Scammers usually pretend to be from the CRA and try to entice fear to encourage you to do something. It may be an activity as simple as calling them back on a specific phone number, which you might not find suspicious but can have disastrous consequences. Following are some examples of CRA scam calls. Number 1 is a call where they scare you into thinking that you've committed tax fraud and the CRA has registered a case against you. The caller creates a sense of urgency by telling you that you must call the CRA back before taking specific steps. The caller tells you that the CRA is making a lien on your property or bank accounts because you haven't fulfilled your financial obligations. So these are a few of the different phone scams that are pretty common. What you can do is ask about the caller's name, their position, and the office they're working in. Tell them that you'd verify with the CRA hotline, the official one, before complying with their requests. If you keep your calm, the scammers may betray themselves on the spot, but it is always better to get their information and call directly to the CRA yourself. Number 2 is the CRA email scam. Email is currently one of the most extensively used medium of official communication. The CRA does use email to connect with taxpayers. Unfortunately, scammers leverage that knowledge to send you something called phishing emails. That is, emails that take you to fake, though legitimate looking lookalikes of the CRA portals. If you put in your credentials there, scammers will steal them. The CRA will send you a link only when you ask for it, either on the phone or in an in-person interview with a CRA agent. The CRA does not usually send an email asking you for immediate payments or personal or financial information. They also do not send a link out of the blue or threaten you with legal action. In general, fraudulent emails do the following. Tell you that you received money from the CRA, ask you to pay money to the CRA, and inform you about a supposed tax refund, which is the most common CRA email scam. So what can you do about this? If you get an email like this, analyze the content and the email address. You might find clues of its illegitimacy there. If you can't, contact the CRA just in case. This also applies to any other email that asks you for your information and tells you that you need to fill out a form or click a link to send payments to or receive payments from the CRA. Third common scam is the CRA text scam. The CRA explicitly ensures that it will never send people texts or messages on social media about tax-related information or financial transactions. They also do not send texts verifying whether your social insurance number or your SIN has been stolen. Any text that claims to be from the CRA and contains a link, guides, or entices you to take a particular action or requests information from you is most likely a scam. Text scams are usually less potent than other types because they are not the CRA's favorite communication channel, so they typically fail to mimic legitimacy. What you can do, if you get a suspicious message claiming to be from the CRA, you can ignore or you can report it. Number 4 is the CRA mail scam. When it comes to faking authoritativeness, few things match good old-fashioned paper. An authentic looking hard copy mail from the CRA might have a better shot of confusing you about whether it's actually from the CRA. No thanks to advances in technology, it has gone relatively easier to fake stamps and signatures. A clever and resourceful scammer might make it nearly impossible to tell whether a letter you've received in the mail is the real deal or not. The only effective way of verifying its authenticity might be to trace it to its origin, that is, asking the CRA about it. The problem with mail scams is that the CRA usually employs mail for a lot of relevant communications. To ask for financial information, for example, or to provide assessment or reassessment notices, to ask for payments but only through the legitimate CRA's payment option, and to provide notice of legal action. But none of the CRA's letters will encourage you to meet with an agent outside the designated CRA offices, nor suggest that you pay the CRA back through an unconventional method. What you can do if you suspect that there is some mail fraud, if you think you've received a mail that's not from the CRA, log into your CRA portal online to see if you owe the department anything. You could also compare your document to your past ones or contact the CRA to verify whether they sent you that mail. Number 5 is a CRA payment method scam. The CRA accepts payments from several different channels: online payment avenues, credit card, PayPal, Interact e-transfers, in person, there's check, or a service provider. It doesn't mean that scammers won't use these methods to divert your payments. However, they might be difficult to imitate. The CRA does not accept payments via cryptocurrencies, prepaid cards, or gift cards, and they will never ask for immediate payment. What you can do is, if you receive a payment request claimed to be from the CRA that is not in line with CRA's typical payment amount, report it right away. 6th common scam is the CRA newcomer scam. Newcomers in Canada or new immigrants are often scared out of their wits by calls and emails that seem to be from the CRA or the Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship Canada, otherwise known as IRCC. However, if you are new to the country, remember that neither department will call nor email you to collect any fees or fines. They also will not threaten to deport you nor ask you for new information or verify the information you've already provided. They also will not ask you to immediately pay any fees or fines using services like Western Union, gift cards, or prepaid cards. What you can do, if you received any such phone call or email, ask the caller about their name, designation, and office. Afterwards, call the relevant department and verify whether the call or email you received originated from there. Number 7 is situational CRA scams. COVID and COVID-related CRA payments proved to be a hotbed of scams and frauds. Numerous people were duped into sharing their details, got payments when they didn't ask for them, and didn't get their due because someone else collected it instead. The reason why these scams succeeded was because all the panic and confusion of COVID last year in 2020. Hopefully, we won't see another calamity like this pandemic anytime soon. However, it's important to remember that when the CRA announces any emergency relief payments or issue guidelines regarding taxes, fees, or other financial transactions that need to take place between you and the CRA, the scammers might try to take advantage of that. So always be diligent even in emergency situations. Number 8, CRA charity tax shelter scams. Donations to eligible and registered charities are a great way to give back to the community and get some tax deductions. But scammers use them to con people too. If you are giving money to the charity and the charity offers to write you a receipt for an amount higher than one you paid so you can supposedly get a more substantial deduction, be very wary of this. It might not be a legitimate charity to begin with because they have to reconcile their numbers as well. So how to protect yourself and avoid CRA scams? Apart from the specific measures you could take to protect yourself from CRA scams and other scams and frauds, there are a few other things you need to know about. The first is that you should secure your SIN number. Never divulge your SIN number lightly. Relatively few entities and individuals can ask for your SIN, and you should know who they are. If someone other than your employer, relevant regulatory bodies, financial institutions, and social assistant benefit providers, among others, asks you for your SIN, verify why they need it before divulging this crucial piece of identifiable information. A legit SIN can be used for several nasty scams that you don't want to fall victim to. Number 2 is to keep identifiable and financial information safe online. Our lives are so intertwined with the internet nowadays that we can depend on it for almost everything, including our financial transactions and tax obligations. Because a lot of your identifiable data and key pieces of information about your finances go through the internet, it's imperative that you pick up some good security habits. Here are some examples. Choose strong and unique passwords and opt for two-factor authentication. Don't share your financial or identifiable information, such as your SIN or any other sensitive information, on social media. Learn how to secure your devices and check the security of your internet. Only provide your credit or debit card number for online transactions to legitimate e-commerce businesses or payment facilitators. If your password is compromised, make sure you change that password on all your online accounts. Using multi-factor authentication, especially for bank accounts or critical online accounts, can save you from many scams and frauds. And some general fraud protection tips. Here are a few things that might help you avoid scams and frauds just in general. Be suspicious of any form of communication that tries to instigate a sense of urgency and compel you to take immediate action, whatever it may be. Don't get intimidated by people claiming to be from the CRA, police, or any other high authority position or department, even if they have your personal information. Talk to them and get as much information as you can about what they are supposedly trying to scare you for. Either their story will fall apart or you will have more information to give to the anti-fraud center. Always be wary of sharing any personal information, even your name and date of birth. If someone from the CRA called you, they would have your information already and won't be asking you to verify it. Research unknown numbers and entities that try to contact you using the name of the CRA or any other regulatory body. Oftentimes, just popping the contact number in a search engine can help you identify whether it's a fraudulent or legit number. Develop the habit of never clicking on any link in a suspicious email or message. If you didn't press forget password on any of your online login portals and you get a password reset email claiming you haven't done so in a while, it's most likely a scam. Scammers often try to lure you in by sharing some of your information with you. However, remember that a lot of your information may already be available on the internet, which anyone can access. So if anyone tries to get more information from you, especially financially relevant data, and leverage information about you that anyone can access, be wary about that. How to report CRA scams. If you've already been scammed and are a victim of fraud, contact your local police and relevant authorities. For example, if you know your credit card is being used by someone else, immediately call your credit card provider to get it frozen and then inform the police if necessary. Similarly, if you have divulged sensitive taxation information or your SIN to someone, contact the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre immediately. They may guide you on how to contain the situation, and you might need to contact the CRA to get ahead of any potential damage that your information might do to your financial relationship with the state. You can report anything online at any time of the day by logging into the online portal. You can also call the CAFC at this number here during office hours. It's important to remember that you can even report scamming attempts to the CAFC and other relevant authorities. This will provide them with pertinent information that could help prevent others from being victims of these scams. So what do I think about these scams in general? I think scams are especially scary for sensitive groups such as the elderly, who may not be as tech savvy or as aware as younger generations and also have a lot of money saved up that they can lose. So if you have someone like this in your life, please share this video with them, and I hope that this helps. And some other tips, I'm going to talk about Borrowwell. So Borrowwell is a company that provides free credit scores and credit monitoring. You can check your credit score and monitor it to see if there's been any fraud on your account by simply logging into it every month. I put a link in the description below if you're interested in signing up. It's absolutely free. And I use it every couple months at least to make sure that there isn't any fraud under my name. I hope this list has been educational and informing you about the most common CRA scams and what you might do to avoid them. New and ingenious scams are a norm, and so are the relevant prevention tactics. Alright, since you made it this far, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future tips. Also, be sure to check out the blog, wealthawesome.com. It's one of Canada's leading personal finance blogs. It goes into this topic in more detail and also has many other topics for Canadians to take a look at. And as always, thanks for listening.